my name is Nephis. I am making ESO videos in 2023. It's time for the semi-annual rant about terms of service clashing with player names. Okay, so apparently Wondernuts, who's an endgame ESO player, was reported by... Okay, so here's the thing. When people are forced to name change their account names or their character names, it's always been speculated that someone somewhere was the catalyst for reporting them. And usually the evidence lies in when this happens. So every time people go PvPing or something where they probably like piss off people, you know, coincidentally, they get their names force changed by customer support. I have a lot to say about this. And whoever you are reporting people for like, come on, like mostly harmless names, like actually completely harmless. I'm gonna say mostly completely harmless names. You're a piece of shit. Like, all right, but anyway, assuming that people report them, okay? This is what happened. Wondernut says on Reddit, I've been a loyal player and subscriber to ESO for 7 years and have always lived the forefront of pushing the PvE limits of the game. I'll venture to say that I'm one of the most experienced players in the PvE world. The raid teams my wife Icky and I are in currently hold the world records for every trial in the game. Yesterday I received this email. Okay, let's look at the email, because this is actually kind of amazing. Okay? This account is receiving a 72-hour suspension due to violating the Code of Conduct. Not the term of service, the Code of Conduct, which is a separate thing, with your character names. We cannot allow names such as Blocks with Nuts. Blocks with Nuts with a Z. The Nuts Cracker. Dragon Nuts Z. Wall Nuts. Nuts Jabber. NTS Blade. I'm assuming that's for Nuts Blade. But okay, whatever. But I don't really understand this one. Nordic Nutbag. Nutified, Nutsticuffs, like fisticuffs, and Dragon Nut Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 character names must be changed because apparently nuts is too, I guess, harmful or too much in the breach of the Code of Conduct. Let's see what the Code of Conduct says, because they cited specific clauses of the Code of Conduct in regards to this supposed violation, right? 2.1, you may not create an account name, persona, or avatar that is in any way discriminatory. Okay. Is nuts, innuendo, or otherwise discriminatory? I don't know about that. Sexually graphic? Is it sexually graphic? What about lifts her tail? Isn't that sexually graphic? Hateful? I don't really see anything hateful about nuts. The ones you eat, and the ones you eat, and the ones you hit, right? Harmful? I don't think this is very harmful. Excretory meaning, something related to feces or fecal stuff, okay? So basically very rude, I suppose, in their definition. In nature, I don't really find nuts excretory. A name, persona, or avatar that promotes self-harm, I don't know. I hopefully you don't mention peanuts or walnuts or almond nuts, okay? Because that apparently is self-harm. Glorify suicides, huh? Or belittles physical or mental disability will be considered as harmful. Okay, obviously not anything to do with nuts. You'll not reference, claim affiliation, or otherwise express sympathy with any hate groups. Great, but nuts has nothing to do with hate groups. Okay? Any other names, and this is the kicker, text or chat that ZeniMax considers offensive is also in violation of the agreement, including Code of Conduct. So this last part right here is really crucial to understand why nuts is apparently off limits. Because according to this statement, anything that they consider offensive, anything at all, it could be like you could say rainbow. Okay, you're the rainbow person, like I don't know, rainbow person or rainbow hat, or I don't know, maybe they'll find the color red offensive someday, can be in violation of the code of conduct. Okay? You will not attempt to use misspellings, blah, 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 or just circumvent the messaging. Okay? So that's 2.1 was basically their main reason. 2.5 is them basically saying, well, NTS must stand for nuts. So you're trying to circumvent nuts by saying NTS instead of NUTS. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's why he was suspended for 72 hours and is forced to name changes 11 character names. But get this, they also have to Wonder Nuts has to change their account name as well, because they also forcefully name changed his account name from Wonder Nuts to Wonder Stars. And the messed up thing about this is Wonder Nuts has had his account name since like 2016. So out of nowhere, what is this? 7 years later, they're like, you know what? That's not allowed anymore. I think it's crazy. I think it's cringe. And let's see what Wonder said about this. I actually got banned for creating tunes with nuts in their names. To add insult to injury, the ESO support team went ahead and changed my user ID. At the time I received the email, I was actually struck speechless. Some of the names like Walnuts and Blocks with Nuts are actually just referencing an object from a children's game called Plants vs. Zombies, the walnut. Okay. Are they going to ban developers that put nuts into the game? Or maybe this dubious looking honey nut treat? Are they going to ban every player that uses the name of a fruit or a vegetable that could possibly be used as a euphemism for a man's or lady's part 2? Maybe Lulu's Lemons or Honey Buns? Can I report every player with nut in their names and expect them to get equal treatment? And of course, he tried appealing it, and the customer support person said, after a thorough review of the account, it has been determined that it did in fact violate the code of conduct. Due to this, the appeal to remove the suspension on this account has been denied. Okay. And he says, I have the same gamer tag on every other platform such as YouTube, Twitch, Battle.net, etc. with no issues. And he's right. I don't understand why they have to go after Wonder Nuts or Nuts. Why should they go after like ERP names too? Like again, Lifts Tails? You know, or Polishes his Spear? I've seen those. Why not? They should go after them too. Honestly. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened in ESO's history. You know, you might think to yourself, oh, well, ESO's a rated M game. Surely they are okay with silly names like this, you know, that aren't harmful to anyone. I genuinely don't see how Nordic Nutbag is harmful to it. I mean, even like Teabagger 69420 is not really harmful to me or really anything like that. I understand like maybe things like names that do use hate iconography, hate symbols. You know, I've seen those, and absolutely they should be banned or they should be moderated. But oftentimes, those same account names go unmoderated for so long. It's crazy. I've seen names that's like try to spell out, or not spell out, but like try to have you enunciate or pronounce their names as like a slur. So there will be certain things that when you speak it out loud is a slur, and they go completely unmoderated, even if you report them after a while. It's just like, well, okay. And I bet you, anyone watching this, knows account names or character names that are far worse than Blocks with Nuts. And nothing's done about those. So it's really interesting to me how selective the moderation is. It's also interesting to me how out of nowhere, out of absolutely nowhere, in 7 years, 8 years, 6 years, they just like that, hey, here you go. Like, looking at this from like a moderation perspective, like, if I'm not saying this is how anyone should do it, but if it were up to me, if I were customer support, if I were somehow in charge of this, I'd be like, okay, this report has come in, let's review their character names, and before we do anything, why don't we reach out to them instead? You know, hey, we've noticed that your character names are so and so. Okay, could you consider changing some of these, or explaining why you I don't know, named it that. They just said, okay, we're going to suspend you for 72 hours, and that's it. Like, there's no real customer support here. It's like, it's kind of like, okay. And you can argue, oh, it's their game, it's their property, they can do whatever you want, right? Code of conduct, terms of service, you agree to it. But really, nuts. You know what I mean? And this is a game where a lot of sexual innuendos, literal rape, and so many mature themes occur. I genuinely don't see this as any other thing than players weaponizing the support system when the support system could be going for actual offenders, okay? Like the offenders I mentioned previously. So, yeah, I mean, I think last year, was it 2 years ago? Somewhere around there. I think it was last year. Someone who named their character Sororia got suspended or had to forcefully change their name. I think on Twitter recently, too, someone said, oh, my account name and one of my character names got changed, even though it's not harmful. It was like a roleplay name. And I was like, what's going on? And of course, there was enough outcry about it on Twitter that I think they got it reinstated. But it shouldn't have to be like this. It shouldn't have to come down to outcry. It shouldn't have to come down to this at all. I, again, don't see how the person who responded to this take it said, you know what? You did violate the code of conduct. No, I don't know about that, man. Like, what the heck is this? And, I have my own personal experience with this, okay? Here's one of my previous support tickets, okay? Now, I think I've talked about this in some streams and a couple of videos, but I've never showed it. Okay, so this is my customer support ticket from 2021, okay? I made a character called Lights Out for Harambe around 2015, 2016. And this is in reference to, of course, Harambe, the gorilla that got shot because the kid fell over into the enclosure. And a lot of characters and players, it was a meme. People were like, oh yeah, dicks out for Harambe. Obviously, I didn't put dicks out for Harambe. I said, put lights out for Harambe. It's a Templar. Okay? Some people had frags out for Harambe. Some people had whips out for Harambe. And for some reason, 5 years after I made this character, and it was very public, it was in YouTube videos and everything. It was on leaderboards. For some reason, out of nowhere, by the way, after I was PvPing, they were like, you know what? You can't have that name anymore. I just feel like there should be a grace period where, like, if you can get away with a very harmless name for like 2 years or something, they should just let you slide, honestly. They should be able to look at how long you've had that character name, how long you've had the account name, and take that into consideration for their moderation. Okay, you know what they told me about Harambe? Initially, they told me, like, they gave me a similar code of conduct thing. And I think one of the clauses was something about religious figures or whatever. You can't do that. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of not mad about it if you're considering Harambe a religious figure. But then I also said, well, how does a 6-year-old character name violate the terms of service or code of conduct? And they said, we understand that you believe this decision was somehow related to something other than our code of conduct. We can assure you it was not. Inappropriate names. We do not allow players to troll others or to have trolling names. How is Lights Out for Harambe trolling others? What the heck? I don't understand, bro. Like, how is Dragon Nuts Z trolling others? How is Blocks with Nuts trolling others? I don't understand. Like, I think I feel awful for saying this. Like, trolling someone would be making, I don't know, like some sort of character name that describes them in some way, or like the person you're trying to like bully. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be something self-deprecating or comedic from your own perspective. I don't know. I just don't really understand this. What is this? Molag Bal, the main villain, is called the King of Rape, and that's how he sired the first vampire. Menemarco ritually kills thousands at the very start of the game. The Shan public dungeon, depending on player choice, your quest companion gets cannibalized. The Veiled Heritance in the AD storyline is a racist terrorist organization that ruins entire cities and assassinates political leaders. That's all okay, but heaven forbid players use the word nut. Yeah, basically, you got a 72-hour ban and forced name change for Herma Moron? Really? Herma Moron? Bro. Okay, there's like two parts to this. First part, what no-lifer is reporting these people, right? I understand. Like again, I completely understand reporting actual, like harmful and derogatory names, and that should definitely be moderated. But I don't understand going after people who are like just having fun without harming other people. Genuinely don't understand. Like this person's not even PvPer, they're a PvEer. It's not like they're teabagging people with blocks with nuts. Even, you know, it's just they just have blocks with nuts. They're a tank. It's a tank character. I block with nuts. What kind of nuts? I don't know. That's for you to figure out. But also at the same time, even if it was a sexual innuendo, it's like, okay, wahaha. You know, God, like I've seen so many character names with references to 420, marijuana, and 69, drugs. I've seen character names and account names referring to like all sorts of so-called inappropriate things. So I don't understand why nuts is so bad. Like from that perspective, honestly. So again, just a semi-annual video talking about the name. I genuinely think they should probably reconsider how they moderate some of these things. Again, I just don't see why they had to suspend the person. Why not just reach out to the person and be like, hey, we don't like this, so maybe consider changing it. Like, give them something. Engage with them. No one's gonna walk away from this feeling great. It just isn't gonna happen. But that's crazy though. 11 character names. I hope my healer, William Shafton, doesn't get removed. It might, you know? And it might get removed because someone reports you. I think that's the other aspect that I kind of touched on earlier. The fact that at times customer support reports seem to be more of a weaponized thing by players rather than an actual report thing. And I mean, let's look at the comments. Did you upset someone recently? Like kick from the raid? Yell at someone in a raid? Oh my god. It's an M-rated game. Who cares if your name has nuts in it, even if it is about balls? Honestly, they banned my old guild's name, which was geology theme, named Imperfect Cleavage, which is the name of a rock formation. Okay, but even if it wasn't geological themed and it was about cleavage, who cares? Like literally, who cares? The kind of okay. Anyway, like I don't really understand it. Excretory nature. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's so easy to abuse if this is a threshold as a team. No way they banned Imperfect Cleavage when? Yeah, I remember the guild. I don't know when. So it's interesting to see this happen still after all these years, even though again there are much worse names than nuts. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this.